What is up, you guys? Welcome to my channel. My name is Coach Magali if this is your first video here, and on this channel we discuss all topics related to building muscle, losing weight, becoming a pro in the gym, and just anything and everything that relates to getting to your fitness goals. So if you enjoy content with a no BS approach, gives you exactly what you need to know to achieve your weight loss and fitness goals, then this channel is for you. Please don't forget to subscribe before you leave. Let me know you like this video by liking it. This lets me know that you guys enjoy videos like this, and it also lets the YouTube algorithm know to push this video out to more people so we can get this message out to more people. Would appreciate your support in that. Thank you so much, and let's just get into the video. Why you're weighing yourself wrong and how that's preventing you from seeing results. I'm going to cover how people weigh themselves incorrectly, and then what are the consequences of that and how it really holds people back from seeing the results that they want to see. And then finally, I'm going to tell you exactly how to weigh yourself, when to weigh yourself, and things to keep an eye out for so that you can maximize the benefits of using the weight scale. Because although it's popular to say, throw it in the trash, it's useless, it doesn't matter how much you weigh, at the end of the day, if somebody is pursuing weight loss, weight does matter, weight loss, and it's important to be able to look at your weight and look at what's happening so that you can spot if you're heading in the right direction. It is a really good idea to have the weight scale to do that with. Firstly, let's get into the mistakes people make when they weigh themselves. People don't truly understand that weight fluctuations are normal. And I think we understand this concept on the surface level. Like if you ask anybody, does your weight fluctuate? They'll say yes, it does fluctuate. No, it is not linear. It does vary day to day. But when we weigh ourselves and we see that happening in real time, we typically forget that and we get emotional about it and we freak out and we think something is going wrong. Weight fluctuations are as normal and expected during a weight loss journey as breathing is. It's a given. It's going to happen to every single person regardless of what method they use, what diet they're on, how many calories they eat. Weight fluctuations will happen to everybody. Why these weight fluctuations happen is a whole separate video. I'm not going to get into that. You can look it up. There's literally so many reasons, but at the end of the day, just understand that it's going to happen. So if you weigh yourself one day and it fluctuated, those changes are normal, and it isn't reason to freak out and stop what you're doing and change your entire routine or give up and get discouraged. That is a fundamental thing you have to understand. The second mistake that people make when they weigh themselves, and this is probably the worst one because it leads to the other two, is weighing yourself sporadically or not having a consistent routine to weigh yourself. What I mean by this is sometimes people wake up in the morning and they weigh themselves, then they go have breakfast, maybe have a workout, they weigh themselves after, and then they weigh themselves the next day at night, and then they don't weigh themselves for 4 days. And this erratic choice of weigh-ins creates this unreliable collection of data. Because we just established your weight fluctuates depending on what you're doing and the state of your body and what's going on, and then add that to the fact that you are weighing yourself at multiple different times in the day in multiple different conditions, it's just a disaster. People feel like they're making progress, they weigh themselves after they eat, they're heavier, they get discouraged, they're like, what is happening? And then they weigh themselves the next morning, they're like, what, I was lighter. And it's just confusing. You have so many factors and influences on what that number is and why it's that number. If you're weighing yourself like this, it's better to stop. It's more mental anguish than it needs to be. It's more confusing, and not to mention, it isn't even effective or accurate. So yeah, I'll get into how to correct this mistake. And the last mistake that I want to get into when it comes to people weighing themselves incorrectly is they're just too emotional about it. They're too emotionally attached to what the scale says, and then they tie that to their personal self-worth. People will get super down on themselves if they see a weight that they're not happy with, or they'll get incredibly excited if they see a weight that they do want to see, and it's like this roller coaster of emotions, up and down as these fluctuations happen. And I get it. We have societal pressure that pushes us to be skinny and lean and all these things, and family pressure, and everybody's pressuring us to lose weight. At the end of the day, however, you are in control of your emotions and how you respond to things. We have the power to reject that, right? We have the power to say, I'm not going to subscribe to that's my self-worth, that I have to be skinny, and if I'm not, that means I'm failing at something. And yes, we're on a weight loss journey where you want to achieve that, but if the weight is something that you're not happy with, it doesn't automatically mean that you're a failure and everything sucks and everything that you do is worthless, and you know that mental downward spiral we get into when we see a weight that we're not happy with. It isn't that serious. It doesn't have that much power. And I know this is a lot easier said than done. I understand, and we're never going to be 100% perfect where our weight doesn't affect us. to us. No one is perfect. No one is immune to that. What I want you to get from this is try to be as objective and emotionless as possible when you see these numbers, and look at it for what it is. Observe, analyze like a scientist would. Just like if you were to walk into a company meeting and your boss is sitting there and saying, here's our numbers for the quarter, they don't look too great, I'm going to burn down the whole company and fire you all. You'd be like, are you on drugs? You'd be like, this guy's crazy, this girl's crazy, like what are they talking about, we're going to burn the company down. No, that's not usually how company meetings go, right? Typically if something's not going well, people sit down, they talk about it, they discuss what went well, what went wrong, what can we do better. That's how you need to approach this. You're not going to burn the whole thing down and throw in the towel or quit or whatever because you have a couple bad numbers. Like, you have to analyze, why is this happening? Is this because I'm weighing myself incorrectly? Is this because I am eating more than I should? Is this because I'm not working out as hard as I think I am? Is this because I'm just not being consistent? What is the issue here? Because if we can find the issue, we can fix the problem. If you let yourself get beat down by the numbers, it's just a very dangerous place to be mentally. And most people unfortunately fall into this trap of letting the weight scale dictate how they feel about themselves and how their day's gonna go and how they feel about their progress so far. Like, you'll have a person who's achieved incredible results in the gym, they're getting stronger, they're getting leaner, but their weight went up 2 pounds, and then they think that it's over and what they're doing isn't working. Like, we have to remove ourselves from the scale like that, because it is so damaging to our progress. It is so damaging to ourselves, our own mental health, to constantly be thinking of the weight scale as a reflection of who we are, because it'll fluctuate. You don't want to tie your personal identity and your self-worth to something that is not reliable. Observe it like a scientist would, and if you don't see the results that you want to see, instead of getting emotional about it, instead of getting reactive and frustrated, ask yourself, why is this happening, and what can I do moving forward to change that around? And you're going to be in a much better place, a way more successful place, by doing that simple switch. Not easy. I know it takes time, and it's a work in progress, but it's better to try to aim for that than to constantly be controlled and powered over by your emotions because of the scale. So now let's get into how to properly use the weight scale and ensure that you're using it the right way so that you get the most accurate information. You can see trends, you can see exactly what's going on, and not let it control you or own you emotionally. First thing I want to get out of the way is the weight scale is not the only thing that matters when it comes to weight loss. Obviously, we want to lose weight, we want to see that weight drop. However, there are other indicators that you are losing body fat and or weight, and that is your measurements are decreasing. So take those once a month, take photos every other week at the latest, and pick a dress or a pair of jeans or something that you've always wanted to fit back into, or fit you maybe a little tight, and use that as a metric. Like, is it getting looser? Is it fitting better? That's obviously going to tell you that you are losing weight, right? So when the weight scale maybe is having a moment and it's plateauing, or you're not seeing the numbers that you want to see, if everything else is changing and going in the right direction, then you just have to wait for the fluctuation to come back down. Like, that's what it is. And it doesn't mean that you're not making progress. Now, of course, if everything's going up and nothing's changing anywhere, that's another story. But it's important to have all of these tools together to give you a broader picture and explain things a little bit more clear. And you have more ways to ensure you're making progress. So now, how to actually weigh yourself. How often and when should you weigh yourself? The main thing that matters when it comes to weigh-ins is consistency, and the consistency of the environment and the time. So what's the best way to ensure that we have the same environment, the same time, similar conditions? It's probably first thing in the morning, right? Because we all wake up, we go to the bathroom, typically in the same way, in the same place. We don't really do much before we go to the bathroom. We just go straight there. Like, there's not a lot of outside influence that can make our weight fluctuate. So the best approach is to do it first thing in the morning, around the same time. If you wake up around the same time, if you wake up at different times, that's fine, but just do it as soon as you wake up. You want to do it without any clothes on so that you're not adding any extra weight that isn't there. After you go to the bathroom, number one, number two, whatever you got to do, and before you eat or drink anything. These conditions are going to ensure you're weighing yourself in your emptiest state and are able to replicate that every time you weigh in. Because again, you wake up every morning and you go to the bathroom usually every morning. You're going to have the same conditions. It's going to be reliable data versus weighing yourself in the morning and then again at night. That's going to result in two different outcomes. So we've established when you want to weigh yourself. How often do you weigh yourself? The first thing you can do are daily weigh-ins. Then there's multiple times a week weigh-ins, and then weekly weigh-ins. I don't recommend you weigh yourself less than once a week. I think that's way too long. A lot of time has passed. You're not really getting any information from that. You could catch yourself on a low day or on a high day and you don't have other data points to compare it to. It's just not enough information. So if you're not going to weigh yourself more than once a week, I think just skip the weight scale altogether and rely on the other forms of progress, the measurements, photos, how your clothes are feeling. But if you want to do at least once a week, I would recommend, if you can, to do it daily. Why daily? That seems like it can be a little bit obsessive, right? Well, I would argue that the less often you do it, the more room there is for error, the more room there is for questions, incomplete data, and therefore I feel like that messes with a person mentally more than when you have more and more information. Now again, you do you. If you don't want to do daily weigh-ins, I'll get into how to do the other two, but this is what I recommend for most of my clients if it is a possibility. The reason is because the more information, the more data points you have, the better idea you're going to have of what's going on. So, for example, if you weigh yourself once a week for 4 weeks, you get 4 data points. If you weigh yourself every day for 4 weeks, you have 30. So it's like 4 data points versus 30. The 30 is going to have a lot more information, a lot more to work with. Another good benefit about daily weigh-ins is it desensitizes you to fluctuations. You understand that your weight's going to change. You expect it. You know that. But then you learn, after 2 to 3 weeks of doing that, a very clear pattern is going to start to appear. And my recommendation is to either buy a smart scale. I'll link the one that I really like below, or enter your data into a graph on Excel sheet or Google Sheets. Google this, it's super easy. But you plug in your numbers or you use your smart app and a graph starts to form. Once 2 to 3 weeks have passed, you have a bit of data now to see what's actually happening. Remember in algebra class when we did our graphs and we plotted all the points and then we had to find the slope by just drawing an average line through the graph? That's essentially what you're looking for. Once your graph has 2 to 3 weeks of information and you see your graph, you can very clearly see, is it going down? Is it staying the same, or is it climbing? And the cool thing about having daily weigh-in information is that this pattern appears a lot sooner. You can see it within 2 to 3 weeks, and you can catch yourself if it isn't moving in the direction you want it to move. But if you do it once a week, you're going to have only 4 data points. You're going to have to wait 30 days to see if something's working or not. And even then, it might not be enough information. So that's why I prefer daily weigh-ins. Now, if you want a sweet in between, you can choose 3 to 4 days out of the week to weigh yourself, maybe every other day. That is more information than once a week. Obviously, daily would be ideal, but if that's too much for you and you want to do a few times a week, that's fine. Just whatever method you choose, plot your information onto a graph or use a smart scale, and then of course stick to the conditions that I mentioned before to have the most accurate representation. The next thing I want to say is, if you skip a weigh-in in the morning, do not weigh yourself later on in the day. Don't do it after a workout. Don't do it after you eat. Now we have interference from outside things and our body's moving around and eating different things. That piece of data is better left alone. Just skip the day altogether and pick back up the next time you're supposed to weigh in. And like I said, if you're doing multiple times a week or daily, you're going to see a trend within 2 to 3 weeks. If you do monthly, about 4 to 5 weeks, you should be able to see what's going on the graph. One of 3 things are going to happen. You're going to see a graph that is maintaining, a graph that is gaining, and a graph that is losing. And I'm going to show you an example of a client of each of these 3 so you can see an actual person's real example. So here's a client who was gaining weight. This is a span of a few weeks. This is a client who was losing. And then this is a client who has maintained. As you can see on these graphs, there's lots of up and downs, right? These daily fluctuations, but over time it presented a trend. And once you see this trend, once the graph is telling you what's going on, numbers don't lie. So you know, once you see this graph, what's going on. If you are maintaining or gaining, that means that somewhere in our routine, we're either not working out enough and moving enough throughout the day, we're not having enough activity, or we're eating too much somewhere. Probably a combination of both, but usually 99% of the time, it's the diet part. If it's going down and it's losing, like the graph that I showed you where the client was dropping weight, then that means what you're doing is working, and it's just about continuing to do that. And once you have the graph and it's telling you the story and you know that it's the reality, then you can make an empowered decision. Like if you're not seeing the results that you want to see, sit in that company meeting again and just ask the question, what can I do better? What am I doing in my routine that could be causing this? Where am I eating a little bit too much? Am I snacking too much? Am I taking bits and pieces from the dinner that I'm making all the time? Am I not really monitoring my portion sizes? Am I going out to eat or drink a lot? Figure out where your routine and your daily habits are tripping you up And if it's not your diet, which again, most of the problems are that, but if it isn't that, then maybe you can add a little bit more physical activity, increase your daily steps, increase your cardio sessions a week, or you can do a combination of both those things. Get that graph moving in the direction that you want it to be moving, which for weight loss, it's downward. So that's really how simple it is to weigh yourself and understand the data and interpret it in a smart and healthy way. And it's unfortunate because so many people fall victim to using the weight scale incorrectly, and they get discouraged, they get frustrated, they give up too soon, they don't give it enough time, and they never achieve their results because they get discouraged by one bad weigh-in. I hope that this video gives you the tools to use this weight scale correctly so that you can use it properly, not be owned by it, not let it overpower you, give you the information you need, and use it in a productive and healthy way. Weight loss is important. It's obviously a goal that you have, which is why you're watching this video. The weight scale is giving you information on the status of your progress, but it does not define you as a person. And if you're not seeing the results that you want to see, it does not mean that you can't change things around and get it moving in that direction. But just don't get frustrated. Don't let it own you. Don't let it control you when you're seeing something you don't want to see. Instead, become a scientist. Ask yourself, why is this happening? And what can I do about it? Again, activity or food intake. And you're going to be in a way better place and actually start seeing the graph move in the direction that you wanted to see, because you're going to be consistent. And that's really the secret to everything, is being consistent, right? So I hope that you found this video helpful. I hope that it provided a little bit of peace of mind and certainty on this weight scale thing. And if you choose to do daily weigh-ins or weekly weigh-ins, whatever you choose to do, I hope that it empowered you to take back control of it and not let it own you and affect you in a negative way, and use it as it was designed to be used, as a tool and nothing more. If you did find it helpful and you know somebody else who is struggling with the concept of using the weight scale, or they're getting frustrated with it, or they don't know how to use it, I would really appreciate it if you sent them this video so that they can also learn a little bit about how to use it properly, and hopefully it helps their journey as well. That would really help my channel out to share my message and help more people. I would really appreciate it if you did that. Also, don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and let me know in the comments below if you're somebody who prefers daily weigh-ins, weekly weigh-ins, couple days a week weigh-ins, or never weigh yourself. Let me know. I'm curious to see what you guys think and what you're doing. Thank you again so much for being here and for watching this video. I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.